Now, you know I had to talk about this, right? I'm happy I didn't speak on it from the very beginning when it all started, because I didn't think, like, I'm happy I waited because all of it unfolded. And now we know the truth about everything that went down according to Monique's son and Monique, right? So let's talk about D.L. Hughley and his beef with Monique. Like, at first I was just like, dude, you already said your piece about your daughter on the internet for anyone to comment or have their piece about it.
Because my youngest daughter said something happened to her, and because it was somebody I liked, I didn't believe her. And I'll never get that back. She'll never. I'm supposed to protect her, and I'll never get that back. That she told her father something, and he didn't do nothing about it because it was inconvenient.
And yeah, Monique most likely should have just not said anything, but we knew her past about what happened to her personally when it came to essay, and she felt like she had something to say about it, and it was messed up. I get it. I understand why she said something. It probably was very triggering, and it probably ticked her off low-key and had to say something about it, even though she didn't say that it did, but it just seems like allegedly that's how she was feeling, and that's why she said what she said.
So I could see how that could play. And there's so many everybody wandering around why women are mad and why people are like that. Look at the shit they go through. Yeah. Like when she said on Color Purple, a girl child ain't safe in the family for the minute. That's fucking true.
But when he came back after she recently had her interview, which that's why I'm speaking on it, because I spoke a little bit on the interview on my channel. So when mental health came about her son, I'm definitely going to speak on that. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy I waited. I was like, DL Hughley should have not spoke about her weight. I was like, that is so ridiculous. Like, can we please stop talking about this woman's weight? She looks fine. She's not this big woman as she was in the Parkers. Can we please find another freaking insult to put on her? Like, why we keep talking about that? Like, we always, body shaming. A woman's always being teared down. Like, can we please find another thing to say about her? Because what you said had no weight on it. And honey, he sure did find one. Since she went up below the belt, he went below the belt and spoke on her son. And I was like, ooh.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Well, he did find a better insult. And it definitely hit where it needed to be hit at, right? It was a good point. And I was like thinking like, okay, well, it's not too late to rekindle your relationship with your son. I was aware that she stated herself that she didn't have a good relationship with him. And I thought after all those years that she most likely has done something to rekindle it. But the first thing I thought of is when I heard the situation and the son spoke his piece the first time, I was like, well, what needs to happen is that you both need to go to therapy, because y'all both need a mediator, because she's not hearing you out. And you understand, I know he understands her perspective, but she doesn't seem to understand where she went wrong and how she could fix it. Because a lot of people from her generation don't know how to take accountability, especially from their children. And I just could tell like there was a barrier that needed to be stepped over, and she just was not. She said, well, I said, well, sorry. Well, sorry is not enough when I need some action out of you to actually have a better relationship with me as a person. That's what he was trying to pull from her. Any child that has had some type of absence from their parent and they became an adult is going to want that. They want to have a relationship with their parent and have some type of friendship. I'm not a child anymore. I want some type of relationship from you, period. Like you have anybody, if that has a parent and son, parent-daughter relationship, So she didn't seem to understand where she went wrong and how she kept overstepping boundaries, especially when it comes to her husband. Like when she spoke about the son, and she wasn't the one really speaking on it. Her husband was.
Leaving off the fact that the last time we laid eyes on you, your mother got you everything you needed for the newborn baby about 3 years ago. You're forgetting about how I, from Georgia, am talking you through getting your car after we gave you the half the down payment for it, and you were 31 years of age, 32 years of age at that point, and I'm negotiating the deal with the dealer for you as you sit there, and you have the vehicle you're driving right now because of your mother. These are the things that you're leaving out when you're expressing what you're expressing in reference to your mother. You're not expressing the relationship that you have with your father, where you spoke ill to him, not to mention spoke ill to your mother, but somehow your mother and father and I all have a loving relationship and communicate back and forth because of the love that we have for you.
I was like, she's one of those women that sit up there and let their man basically choose their man over one of their children. Because I've seen this dynamic before, and it just really is heartening that Monique was one of them. And I was like, okay, well, she only had two options. He only had two options. Either they go to therapy and work things out, and I hope and pray that things do work out, or two, squash your relationship with your mom and go to therapy for you for the damage that she has done, and just take accountability for your own mental health. Because that's the messed up part about it is that even though you went through the trauma and they caused you a lot of mental anguish and trauma, they think that money was enough instead of you actually having a relationship. Because the children don't care about the money. It's all about your relationship with each other. It's really what it boils down to. Because children really don't remember most of the things that you give them. They only remember the time you spent with them, no matter what you're doing. You can go to a park. You can go to anything that's free, do picnics and do things like that, or do board games at home. And they're going to remember those times spending with their parent versus them going to Chuck E. Cheese, them going to Jump Street, all this type, like going to urban air, type things. They don't really care about that. It was the time they spent with their parent. Because you can have a birthday party and grill out and have a birthday all day at the house and still have a very good childhood. So a lot of parents really feel down, because I've spoken to many parents over the years, have felt like, I don't feel like I'm a good parent. I try to spend enough time with them. And then when they tell me all the things that they have done and gone out and did family outings and went to trips, and I'm like, you're doing more than enough. Stop beating yourself up. I know from experience. My parents did a really good job of me having a good childhood, because my childhood that I have is non-existent of what's going on around here, right? So I know from experience. What? I'm referring to letting a child be a child, go out, go on bikes, and have a good time. You can't do that the way you could back in the day. She had 3 children. I am one of 3 from my parents, and when she spoke to me, I totally resonated and let her know exactly that it wasn't that, it's not as bad as you think it is. You're doing a wonderful job, And when Monique really didn't seem to understand what to do, and I was like, all she needs to do is go to therapy and try to understand where she went wrong to be able to fulfill those holes that he was missing. And if she's not capable of doing it, which she already showed that she wasn't able to, then you need to get therapy, and you can love from a distance or cut them off. Because a lot of people will try to be like, oh, your parents, you're supposed to honor them, and no matter what. No, there is a line. If your parent, you can still respect them and love them, but you don't have to be up on their face. You don't have to have a conversation with them like that. So it'll be just a complicated relationship for the rest of your life. It just is what it is. And then you go to therapy for that absence of what it is. Because Because there's a lot of parents that just do you wrong. Like an absent father that comes out of nowhere and wants to have a relationship with you, but you haven't known him for most of your life, and now they want to have a relationship, but then they actually was a very toxic person and are actually no good having you in their life. And then you had to be like, no, you're a whole stranger. No, you can't move in with me. No, you don't have the honor and respect of a parent because you are not a parent. You know, it's that type of thing. And when she went on stage and sit up there and disrespected him once again, dismissed his feelings once again.
My grandbaby called me and told me to watch this goddamn TikTok of your son. And I watched that shit. She said, I want to tell you something. I said, ma'am. She said, that nigga. And when the elderly people tell you, that nigga, you ain't that nigga. She said, Monique, I'm 80 years old and I got a son 60 years old. You still tell me how up I was when he was 10 years old. That nigga.
Once again, I'm so happy he didn't sever or was waived about like how she's projecting all this anger and upset when she's in the wrong. Not taking any accountability, don't even know how to. Because she most likely have her husband and other people in her ear telling her that she's in the right when she's dead wrong. That's wild. And the son was just like on his TikTok, you know, still love you, still care for you. And other people were down talking what he was saying. He was absolutely in the right. He handled it beautifully and perfectly the way you're supposed to.
Gone to therapy on several different occasions, and that is not something that I will ever be ashamed of. I have even gone to therapy with my mother on several occasions. But for those who know how efficient therapy works, therapy only works when both people are being open. My mother was still in her 15-year-old mentality phase during that time, so I guess I understand why she did not know how to be open with me during our sessions. When a person becomes accustomed to being a victim and others get used to seeing them as one, they live their lives in a state of internalization, meaning you consistently receive another's approach as an attack, constantly putting you under the illusion that you need to always be on the defense, even in situations where there is no actual attack, just an acknowledgement of things already said by you.
And he did exactly as a mature adult's supposed to do. He said, I still love, I still care for you, but you're not going to sit up there and harm or hurt me anymore. Like, he set up a straight, healthy boundary. And he's like, I'm not going to have you in my life anymore. Because, you know, sometimes that's what you have to do. When you know that someone's not serving you and they're more damaging to you by keeping them in your life. And having those expectations of them being an actual parent when they're not going to be that towards you. It's a hard pill to swallow. But once you allow it to dissolve and go through the process, you're so much better off. Especially mentally. And that's just the reality of the fact. It's the reality. So, I wish him all the best. He did an amazing job to cut it. And I was actually surprised that what I was going to suggest from the very first video, go to therapy. Y'all should be able to work it out. Have a mediator to be able to put y'all's puzzle piece together instead of it being apart. And when he said that they already done that, and even therapy can work, but the person has to be honest and fully open. She already was closed-minded, and there was no breaking it. As you can see from her last performance on stage, towards that situation with her son, it was not going to ever work. And then when he got back on camera to fully finally finish the conversation, he was like, exactly what I thought. You know, like, he knows his mother. He knows that they already went to therapy, and then there was no reconciling this situation from Jump Street. And I'm kind of happy that he said his piece. He needed to offend himself. And it gives an example of, like, they're not the only ones that's going through this. I've run into plenty of other people that have bad relationships with their parents. And they don't seem to understand or realize, because society makes you think that you're supposed to have a relationship with someone who's toxic, and you don't need to. Seriously. But yeah, they already went to therapy. That didn't work. The next thing was to do is to go to therapy for himself and heal, and know that it's not his fault that his mother is like this. It's all hers. And all you can do is lead them to their devices. It is what it is. And if you guys are any type of situation like that with your parents, whether it be your mom or your dad, you know, you may need to do the same, because it may be more damaging than it is any good, and distance yourself. And when they actually show that they are going to do better and move along within their healing, then they'll be able to enter back into yours. It is what it is. I have personally experienced it with both of my parents. So, but the difference is that mine actually didn't fully show accountability. My parents didn't say it right in front of me like they were in the wrong. They kind of acknowledged it and accepted that they were like this, but they didn't have no intention to change it. So what I did was like, okay, this is just how they are, and I just gonna move accordingly. Duck and dodge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know my parents, so I was like, I knew how I was gonna do it. And my parent realized that, and they made the necessary changes on their own. They kept surprising me over and over again. I'm about to be in tears because, like, I'm proud of them. I'm very proud of them for doing that. And it's not like it's not sometimes it's not easy to go through that process, but honestly, it's not as bad as you think it is. It makes you a better person and who you're supposed to be anyway. So remember, you guys, you're beautifully, wonderfully made. Only you can make that change. I'll see you guys on the next video. Deuces.